Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friends Talk Money. I'm Pam Kruger, co-host of Money Track on public television and founder of WealthRamp.com.
I'm Richard Eisenberg, a personal finance writer and editor, and formerly the editor of the Money and Work channels for the PBS site for people over 50, nextavenue.org.
And I'm Terry Savage, nationally syndicated personal finance columnist and the author of The Savage Truth on Money.
We're three friends who like to talk money and all the issues that come with it.
On this podcast, we're trying to help you understand your personal finances
to get you and your retirement on the right path for true financial peace of mind.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Friends Talk Money. You know what time it is? It's Medicare Open Enrollment time for 2024. That means if you're on Medicare or you're planning to sign up, you only have until December 7th to either join a Medicare Part D prescription drug plan or a private insurer's Medicare Advantage plan, or switch the one you have, or switch from Medicare Advantage back to original Medicare for next year. Terry, I have two questions for you before we get too far into this. The first is that people often get confused about Medicare supplement policies or Medigap. Where do they fit into open enrollment? And then after that, if you have one, should you be shopping around during open enrollment to possibly switch yours? And then I've got a question about Part D stuff. But let's talk about Medigap first.
All right, let's start at the start. First of all, you can get Medicare Part A, which costs you nothing. When you're 65, you might as well sign up. But you don't have to sign up for Medicare Part B, which is the physicians and other services, if you have health insurance through your employer or perhaps your spouse's employer. The one exception to that is if the employer has fewer than 20 participants in its health insurance plan, then you are required to sign up for Medicare Part B. So we're two groups of you out there. Those who already have signed up for Medicare initially and are planning to do it, and those who already have Medicare. Let me focus on what happens in answer to your question, Richard, if you already have Medicare. When you sign up for Part B, there's a monthly premium. It's based on your income, and there's an adjustment called IRMAA, I-R-M-A-A, for those earning at higher levels, and that can be impacted when you take distributions from your retirement plan or so on. So every month you'll have a Medicare Part B premium, and for people on Social Security, it's typically deducted from your Social Security check. But Medicare Part B doesn't cover everything, covers 80% of most stuff, and there are co-payments and other things Part B doesn't cover. So if you're in traditional Medicare, the A, which is the hospital, it's free. The B, which you sign up for when you lose your health insurance at work or through your spouse. And then the supplement, which brings you to not having to pay very much at all for medical treatment if you have the correct supplement. You must sign up for a Part B supplement within 6 months of signing up for Part B. And the particular reason for doing that is if you sign up within that 6-month period, you cannot be turned down for the best Medicare supplement, sometimes called a Medigap plan. Now they're all labeled A through currently G, and I'll give you an easy way to remember. You want Plan G because it covers the most. It's also the most expensive. But if you're ill and you need treatments or services, you're going to want coverage through Plan G. Every insurer, you've heard them all, Blue Cross, Humana, United, they all must offer by law the same services under Plan G. The difference might be the physicians or hospital units included, or a service they get rated with stars, but you want to sign up for Plan G immediately. And then I'll just give you the broad outline. You'll also have to sign up for Part D, even if you're not taking any drugs, so you don't face a penalty for signing up later when for sure you'll get around to taking something for your heart or your blood pressure or something else. So again, Part A is free at 65. Part B, when you lose your other insurance, sign up for Part B, the hospitalization, immediately sign up for a Medicare supplement, and then also sign up for Part D. You can put, I'm not taking anything, just Tylenol, but you'll pay a small monthly premium. Now, let me just finish this part with Richard. You asked me, when do you do what? When you signed up for Part A, you're signed up for Part A, that's it. When you're signed up for Part B, your supplement, that's it. You got the best supplement. You never want to change. But if you move from New York, let's say, to Florida, it might change the price, but you'll stick with the same company and you'll get the same coverage. You'll never give up that great plan for your supplement. However, Part D for drugs, that's the one you must look at every year during Medicare Open Enrollment, because not only are you maybe taking a new drug, but each year the plans shuffle the tiers of payments of the generics and the costs and the prices and so forth. Every year you go to Medicare.gov, line up all your prescription drug bottles, put not only the name of the medicine in, but the dosage, 5 milligrams, 40 milligrams, whatever it might be, and click. And they will show you all the drug plans, and you can choose the one that has the most convenient pharmacies or offers a great discount if you buy them 3 months at a time or whatever. But every single year you review Part D. You never give up your Part B, your supplement, and the Part B is the Part B, and you'll get charged for it by the government based on your income the previous year. I'm going to take a deep breath because there's some other big topic we're going to cover later. I consider it a dirty word. It's called Advantage, but I'll stop right there, Richard, if you'll indulge me. Talk about it later.
Okay.
Well, thanks for the overview for all the different parts of Medicare. And I know you're really itching to share your concerns about Medicare Advantage plans. I promise we're going to get to that. But before we do, and before any of us offer some more advice about making smart Medicare decisions for open enrollment for this year, I think we should talk about 3 big Medicare changes for 2024 that people should know about. So I'll start with one, and that is how the rules are changing for catastrophic prescription drug costs. That's your really expensive medical prescription drug costs, and how that might affect shopping for a Part D plan for 2024. So for 2024, once your Part D out-of-pocket spending for prescriptions is over $8,000, which I know sounds like a lot, but for many people, that's what they're paying these days. Once your spending for that is over $8,000, you will not owe a copayment or coinsurance starting in 2024. That's a big change. In 2023, you now pay coinsurance of 5% once your out-of-pocket spending on prescriptions is over $7,400. So the bottom line here is if you expect to have really steep prescription drug costs in 2024, there may be more reason to compare your Part D plans for your medications, because suddenly you're not going to be dealing with those copayments and coinsurance that you were this year. So that's one change. Now, Pam, there's another change I want you to talk about, which is that more low and moderate income people are going to qualify for the Medicare savings programs that are run by the states. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, this is really good news, especially for listeners in our audience who are on fixed incomes. Prescription drugs are expensive. I mean, getting to that 8,000 point in a year is really not that hard. Richard, Terry, this new program really helps people who have limited income and not a lot of money sitting in a savings account or in investments. So in 2024, starting right away here, coming right up in a couple of months, anybody who qualifies for Medicare's extra help subsidies, that's what it's called, extra help, is going to pay $0 for their Part D plan premiums and nothing for deductibles. And then for the generic and some of the brand name drugs, those costs are going to be reduced. So here's what you need to know. You're eligible for this program if your 23 income is about $22,000 a year if you're single filer, or just under $30,000 a year if you're married. Now, they're also going to look at the assets that you own, such as your savings accounts and investments, et cetera. But that's outside other than your home, the cars you drive, and your personal possessions. So this really can be a big help for people on moderate incomes. Now, those limits will go up every year. So it's really important to know that even if you can't qualify for this extra help program right now today, I strongly recommend that you go ahead and reapply for that extra help, and look at the parameters for next year, because again, things are going to change. It's a fluid situation. It's going to go up every year. But the bottom line is, if your income and your resources are limited, you should sign up for this extra help at the very same time you enroll in a Part D plan. And the key to this is, during open enrollment, take full advantage of any new options that you may have and any changes that have happened in your favor since last year.
And people can find out about those the extra help plans either by going to the Medicare site or getting in touch with their state health insurance department to find out more information about that.
Yeah, and we will have all the resources and the websites that we mentioned during this podcast. We'll have them in our show notes.
At friendstalkmoney.org.
I want to mention one other big change for 2024, and that's that Medicare is going to cover mental health services provided by marriage and family therapists and mental health counselors, as long as the therapists accept Medicare. So that's a good segue into some of the problems with Medicare Advantage plans and the limited number of doctors and hospitals in their network. So Terry, take it away.
All right, this is important. Number one, let me state at the outset, you're seeing commercials all over TV. I see them, they grate on my nerves. They run 2 or 3 in a row on whatever station you're watching, talking about you may qualify for 2024 Medicare Part C. You may be eligible. Call us immediately. They're talking about something called Medicare Advantage, which is a Medicare version of managed care. Now, all those radio commercials really offer some really tempting benefits. First of all, they say they may be lower cost or even free. That should get your ears wondering. They say it includes more than the old-fashioned Medicare. If we have vision, we have dental. They don't tell you how limited that is, by the way, what physicians are taking, the limited reimbursement they give them. And they talk about giving you more money in your Social Security check because they're no longer deducting the premium for Part B. You're just paying for this one Medicare Advantage plan, and it may be cheaper. You know how much money they're making? Think about what they're spending on those commercials. You know how they're making all that money? By rationing, denying care. Not only do you have to use the physicians, hospitals, and doctors within their network, if you start using them too much, you may be paying up to $8,300 a year in out-of-pocket costs. That's the limit, but that's still a lot. So you should have been paying Part B in a supplement. You would have come out ahead if you get sick. Okay. They ration the care. They ration the approvals. I'm going to read to you from a new report. We'll put a link to the website of socialsecurityworks.org. They just put out a new report and saying the Medicare Advantages often do not cover many of the costly services Medicare covers, and they are regularly delaying and denying care that patients need. Last year, the Department of Health and Human Services released a report showing that Medicare Advantages wrongly denied 18% of payment claims. Another report found that insurers denied over 2 million prior authorization requests in 2021.
Oh.
If you want authorization for tests, you have to ask for that before, even if your doctor says you should have a test. And if you want to go out of network to find the specialist heart surgeon or the specialist cardiac or whatever, then that's on you, and that's going to be very expensive. They may pay a bit, but not very much. The rate of denials, according to this report, is rapidly increasing, more than tripling since 2019. And let me just read you this line from the report. A recent investigation from Stat News found that usage of artificial intelligence algorithms is a key driver behind the increased number of denials. In other words, you sign up for Medicare Advantage, your doctor and your hospital are in that plan, great. It also includes your prescription drugs. It seems to cost very little. As long as you're healthy and don't need special attention, specialists, special services, or tests, that's fine. It's going to be a lot less expensive. If you do get sick, number one, even within Advantage, you could pay more than $8,000 in out-of-pocket claims. Number two, you're restricted to the docs and hospitals in that Advantage plan. And many doctors are getting so upset about these rates of denial that they're leaving the Advantage plans. Number three, if you do go outside, it's going to be very costly. It's great as long as you're healthy to be in Medicare Advantage. Now, I know there's a substantial outlay for Medicare Part B every year, and it goes up a little bit every year from the government and your supplement and Part D. But in the long run, if you want to get the health care you really want to have, your family wants you to have, you might think about the fact that penny wise and pound foolish is what comes to mind. It's great until you get sick. And one more thing.
It's great. It's great until you need it.
Until you need it, right. Now, one more thing. Let me say this. So let's suppose you say, well, okay, Terry, thank you for telling us, I'm just going to take Medicare Advantage for a couple of years. And if I get sick during open enrollment, which is what we have now, I'll just switch back to traditional Medicare and Part B. Because, yeah, you're right. I'm going to want to be seeing specialists now that I've been diagnosed with this, that, or the other. Here's the problem. Remember I said when you first sign up for Medicare, you want the supplement that is called Plan G, offered by many different insurers. Yes, you can go back after you've been in Advantage to traditional Medicare during open enrollment, but you are not guaranteed, except in a few states, that you will be allowed back into that Part G supplement that covers almost everything that Medicare doesn't. So once you're out, you can go back to traditional Medicare, but you will still have a lot of out-of-pocket supplements costs if you can't get back into that original Part G supplement that covers everything. So I know the commercials are out there. I just every time you see a commercial, ask yourself how those companies pay for it. They collect money from you, less money, of course. The government reimburses them for care, and they squeeze down the care so they make profits to run the commercials to get you to sign up. Please think twice about it. If you could possibly avoid Medicare Advantage, I suggest you do so. That's the sad truth.
Pam?
Yeah.
You know what? My head just blew up for those who don't see me going like this with my head blowing up. Terry, Richard, what bothers me the most about the Advantage plans, and I'm so happy that I've been listening to you talk about this for a while now, every year. The lines between the advertising and what sounds like official offers is so blurred because the names of these programs are mind-boggling names. They just sound so official. And, it's touting, if you have 30 seconds to say something or 15 seconds in a commercial, what do you think you're going to say? You're going to talk about the benefits and you're going to tease people into getting in. This is a really important decision. And the last thing you want to do is rush into switching based on what you heard about an Advantage plan and its benefits because of the advertising pitch. And I also want to mention that the holistic fee-only financial advisors in my network who are counseling their clients on these issues say very strongly, if you have an Advantage plan, it is in your best interest to review it especially right now during enrollment, of course, along with your Part D coverage every year. But thank you for, really making that clear, Terry, because I just don't think that we can hear it enough.
Let me add one thing onto this, okay? Part of what this report says, I'm going to find it here to be accurate. Look, all right, now I scared half of you who are already in Medicare Advantage plans. So what do? If you're healthy, you could go back to traditional Medicare, check first to see if you can get that great Plan G. Some of you are saying, what about Plan F? That was 3 years ago, that was no longer allowed for new applicants. If you have the old Plan F, that's actually a teeny bit better than Plan G. You'll never get that back again. But here's what they say. Yes, if you're already in Medicare Advantage, you want to compare. You want to check the ratings at Medicare.gov, but somewhere down here it says that many of those companies are allowed to keep their 4- and 5-star ratings because Medicare is not punishing them for poor service to people and tracking the denials. So if you're already I know people who are happy in their Medicare Advantage plans and they're not particularly ill, but they have the natural things you get. And they say, Terry, why would I switch? Don't switch. If you're in one that's working and your doctor's in there.
But review it.
Because the rates of denial, pretty soon, maybe the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau will require them to publish their denial rates, publish the number of physicians that leave, a number of hospitals that are are dropping out of these plans because the reimbursement they get from these Advantage plans is so low. The doctors don't want to participate. They complain about reimbursement from Medicare, so they don't want to be in these low reimbursing things. So what doctors are left in there? And finally, I've heard from physicians, because I've been now researching this, they're upset that when their patients have Medicare Advantage plans and they prescribe a test, a 4D Doppler something or other, brain scan or whatever they're doing, it could take months because they can't get approvals and they get turned down, and the doctor has to then write a letter and say, no, this is really critical, we can't diagnose. So I mean, just know you're stepping in quicksand when you get in Medicare Advantage, and look before you take that leap, to mix all my metaphors, because it's very sticky, hard to get back into traditional Medicare, and a great supplement, except in a couple of states that do have that exclusion.
So there are a bunch of other
You can go back within a year, but what happens is, I'm sorry, you can go back to your original supplement within a year. I should clarify that. And in some states for longer than that. But the thing is, you won't find out that this is a problem until hopefully years from now when you get sick.
All right, so there are a bunch of things we still have to talk about for open enrollment
sorry.
this year. But I do want to say a couple quick things about Medicare Advantage, then I promise we're going to move on to the other topics we really need to talk about. One is, this is the first year that more people are in Medicare Advantage than not Medicare Advantage that are in traditional Medicare. And the main reason for that is because a lot of people simply can't afford the cost of traditional Medicare and a Medicare policy. And so they want some coverage. They go with Medicare Advantage, even though it may have a lot of the problems that Terry was talking about. That's one thing I want to mention. The other is, I've already started to notice that the TV commercials this year are a little better, a little different than they were last year. And that's because the Biden administration is cracking down on them. So you may still see as many as before, but they are going to be a little more accurate and a little more honest about who's making the commercial and what they're about. Because in the past, basically, it made it sound like Medicare was talking to you, but they can't do that anymore. All right.
Okay,
Now I'm
so
going to
you
move
mean
on.
like they're calling out, this is Advantage, this is an
Right.
Advantage, but they're calling that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Or
Now,
Part C, they're saying.
if you have a Part D or a Medicare Advantage plan now, it's really important to read through what's called the annual notice of change and evidence of benefits that you probably got in the mail in September. You might have ignored it, maybe you put it away. I hope you didn't throw it out. But it's so important to read through because it tells you how the rules are going to be changing for 2024. And it will tell you, basically, it'll help you decide, should I be looking for a different plan? Because what you may find is that they are suddenly charging you a different price than they did last year for the prescriptions, or for where you go to get your pharmacies, or lots of Medicare Advantage. So please take a look at that annual notice of change, read through it. And Pam, maybe you can talk a little bit about places people can go to research Part D and Medicare Advantage plans if they are looking for some extra help.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always looking for help. So sure, the Medicare/plan-compare.com, Medicare/plan-compare.com. Don't say that after you've had a martini. That website will be on our show notes, so you'll see it there. But that's the website that has the tool, and it works pretty well. I've tested it out and I played around with it.
That's the Plan Finder tool?
Yeah, the Plan
No,
Finder tool.
That's not the Plan Finder, the official Medicare.gov Plan Finder tool.
Right. There's a Plan Finder tool to help you with the list of plans. And then there's the tool that helps you walk through and compare options and costs.
Yeah, that's Medicare.gov, not com. Did you mean to say .com?
Yes.
Okay, well, really the first place to start, I just want to disagree with you publicly here, is go to Medicare.gov, because that's the place where you compare supplements available to you and where you do your Part D comparisons.
You know what? You might be right. It might be .gov at the end of the
.gov. Go to Medicare.gov. Once you get there, it says get started, and of all the government websites, the best one I've ever seen, I mean, I knew this when I was helping my mother, was Medicare.gov. Believe me, this one you can do. I mean, if you have a grandchild that wants to help you out, let's invite them in to sit down and help you.
Yeah, and it's pretty robust and it's pretty good, and you can do a lot there. And what I think it helps you do, you guys, is I think it really helps filter and really get you, focused on. the right things, the right considerations, the right kind of plan, etc. For me, at the end of all of that, I am also the kind of person that's left with questions that can't get answered from a website. So navigating all through that and then looking for help, outside of that is something that's really important too. And so every state has assistance for Medicare. These are volunteers, they're experts on Social Security. Now, there are volunteers, but they're available, they're accessible. I had a conversation with Bill, who is the local SHINE, that's the acronym, Medicare expert in my local area. And I took some of the questions that I had for me particularly that could not get answered on the website. And I asked him to kind of walk me through, and he was really able to do that because that's what he spends his time doing. And he was pretty darn good at it. And it gives you somebody that you can actually talk to and ask questions, and they'll tell you if they don't know. And they're not selling you anything. They don't represent Advantage plans. They don't represent anybody. They're there to basically offer you the kind of assistance that, you can't get if you just call, Medicare on the phone. So
yeah, I was going to say about those SHIP plans. They're often called SHIP plans for state health insurance assistance programs. They're run by the states. As you say, they're not selling things, but they're not recommending policies. So you can't expect them to say to you, okay, so for you, this is the plan you need to buy. What they can do is help you come to that decision by getting information from you, by answering your questions. So they're really good in clarifying things, but it's going to be up to you to decide which plan to buy if you're going to buy one.
Yeah, but I will tell you that Bill on the phone with me, he was very specific. And by the time we finished talking, I mean, I really felt confident that I understood what would work for me, even though he didn't tell me that. But it was pretty darn good. Now, that's one test in one state, but it was really good.
And before we wrap up, I think we should talk a little bit about Medicare brokers and agents. And Terry, I wonder if you might offer any thoughts and advice about using them.
Okay, this is a funny thing. Last Saturday, I ran into a woman we had seen a long time, and we both wound up at the same place. And she said, guess what? I'm retiring. I said, oh my gosh, when I start taking Social Security, I turned into Terry, the money lady. But I said to her, she says, no, I'm all set. I'm not worried about insurance. I'm 65. And my agent said, and I went, wait. And then she used the word advantage. And I said, stop right there. There must be a reason we wound up together in this room on this day. Look, let me give you, we're going to put all these resources in the tech notes. And if you're listening or you download it from somewhere else, friendstalkmoney.org is our website. That's where our show notes will be. We'll put links. There are some services that actually do use health insurance brokers to help you find supplements. Let me start with this. First place I would go is Medicare.gov for both supplement comparisons and Part D. It's the place, Medicare.gov. It's simple, you can find it. Now you want a little more help, and I get that, Pam. We talk about these SHIP programs, State Health Insurance Assistance Programs, SHIP, and call your state. I'm sure there's one in every state that gives you free, unbiased guidance. They're not trying to sell you anything. There are websites, for example, ehealth.com. That's eHealth or ehealthinsurance.com. Either way, I just was looking on my computer. It will give you a quick and easy way to compare Medicare Advantage, to compare either Advantage plans or supplement plans. And they get commissioned the same way no matter what plan they sell you if it's an Advantage plan. So they're not trying to sell you one over the other if you're going to Advantage, and ditto for supplements. So that's ehealthinsurance.com or ehealth.com. And finally, there's something we'll put up called the Medicare Rights Center. And the toll-free number, you can rewind this on your podcast, so I'll give it to you once, and it'll also be at friendstalkmoney.org, is 800-333-4114. So the 411 help. You remember that number. Remember when we used to call 411? 800-333-4114. There are brokers and agencies that are out there selling you. Medicare.gov is not selling you anything. Sadly,
Well,
this is something you should research on your own. Do you want to add to that, Richard?
yeah, I do. And I want to actually make a case for possibly using an agent or a broker. My wife and I have used one for the past few years since we signed up for Medicare. And I have found it very helpful to work with somebody who is very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than I am, about the various types of Part D plans and Medigap plans that are available where I live. And he lives in the same area that I do. And I'm not necessarily going to take his advice all the time, and I will sometimes push back or say, well, what he's talking about is not what I'm looking for. But I will tell you that I find him to be very helpful in sorting through things and spending a lot of time to come up with a smaller list of possible plans that and saving me some time and agony in going through them all. And I'm glad that I've been using him to choose them. And I just talked to him just today to change our plans for next year. So he understands the need to review things every year and talk with me about what's changed and what I should consider. So it's not right for everybody. I know there's some good ones and some bad ones. For me, it's been very helpful. I do think some people may want to hire an agent or a broker. Just understand that they're not going to be representing every company that sells a plan where you live. So, you want to find out which companies they're dealing with and how they've chosen those companies, and then decide if that's somebody you want to work with or not.
It's a good
Let me
point.
add one, wait, Pam, let me add one final thought right after Richard there. Look, when you sign up for Medicare, you sign up for Medicare. You don't go back. When you sign up for traditional Medicare Part B, you can switch. You'll understand we've talked about what the consequences are of switching to Advantage. When you sign up for your supplement, sign up for the best one. Currently, the best, most comprehensive, and most expensive is Part G. And then at the same time, sign up for and you'll never, unless you go to Medicare Advantage and give up Part G, Supplement G, you never have to review that again. You could tell them if you move from New York to Florida, but when you're in the best one, Part G, stick with it. If you already have Part F, you got the super best one, they aren't offering it anymore, stick with it. And then Part D is the one thing you have to review every year, okay? And that's easy to do online at medicare.gov. So,
and Pam, was there
if you
something
go
else
to
you want
Advantage, God help you, make sure your doctors and hospitals are in there right now. Try and find out their rate of denials and their time for approvals for additional tests. If that's all you can afford, it's certainly better than not having coverage in your old age. But if you're just wooed by the commercials, think twice, because in the long run, it could be more costly, more painful, and far more restrictive.
Pam, anything you want to add before we close up?
Yeah. And for help, there are lots of resources out there. I appreciate hearing about your experience, Richard, personally, because I've never heard that experience before. So I really think it's really good to hear that. For me, I'm sticking with Bill. Bill's the SHINE. I'm not going to give you any more acronyms. It's the state's assistant, not selling you anything. I'm sticking with Bill because it didn't cost anything. And boy, did he help me take what I got from the website and then filter it down and actually make a good decision.
Well, we know we've given you a lot to take in, but Medicare is complicated. But it's really important that you take the time to make the right choices between now and December 7th, because after that, it's too late to make your changes for 2024. We hope we've helped you make some smart choices during open enrollment. We wish you lots of luck, and we'll see you soon on the next Friends Talk Money. Bye.
Stay healthy.
Yes.
Friends Talk Money is funded in part by a grant from the Investor Protection Trust. The IPT is a nonprofit organization devoted to investor education. Since 1993, the IPT has worked with the states to provide the independent, objective investor education needed by all Americans to make informed investment decisions. Visit investorprotection.org. We also receive support from the North American Securities Administrators Association, known as NASA. It's the oldest international investor protection organization. NASA's members include state and provincial securities regulators from the U.S., Canada, and Mexico who serve on the front lines of investor protection. Recognizing that education and awareness are powerful tools in the fight against investment fraud, NASA is pleased to sponsor Friends Talk Money. Here are 3 important tips to help you protect your money from fraud. With investing, there are always risks, so be cautious of anybody telling you that a certain investment is guaranteed. You should also proceed with caution if somebody is promising very large investment returns. This is a common red flag for investment fraud. Last and most importantly, be sure you're working with a licensed or registered financial professional. You can check your advisor and make sure they're licensed by visiting brokercheck.finra.org. NASA is your partner in keeping you safe and helping you avoid investment frauds. Visit nasa.org and click on the Investor Education tab to learn more.